kindergarten, it's Mrs. Kopaz. Last week we talked about overlapping shapes and you drew some shapes overlapping in your sketchbook. This week we're going to turn those shapes into things, and the things that we're going to use are all things underwater. So we're going to make an underwater scene today with objects overlapping. You will need your sketchbook, a pencil, and your crayons. Go ahead and get your supplies and set yourself up like an artist and get ready to start. Okay, so last week we talked about how we can draw things that overlap. So for example, we put one shape on top of the other and drew the shape that was on top first and then the shape that's underneath it. This week we're going to do that with objects in an underwater fish scene. So the first thing I'm going to draw is my fish. I'm going to start with a line that goes in and back out. That's going to be the fish's mouth, okay? I'm going to touch the top of that line and I'm going to curve it for the fish's back. I'm going to touch the bottom of that line. I'm going to curve it again for the fish's belly. And from here, I'm going to add two more lines. I'm going to come out and come back and touch, come out and come back and touch. Now remember, if I ever move too fast, you can just pause the video. The next thing I'm going to add is an eye. So I'm going to do a circle with a dot inside. So far I've used an angle and some curved lines. Now I'm using a circle and a dot, all those elements coming in. I'm going to draw a straight line, and then I'm going to zigzag back to make his top thin. It kind of looks like a mohawk. Then I'm going to make a straight line from his chinny chin chin, and I'm going to zigzag back and touch his belly for his bottom fin. And then I'm going to do a line just like I did here, but the opposite way. I'm going to reverse it, and I'm going to do one more zigzag so he can turn left and right in the water. Okay, so now I have a lot going on here. I'm just going to give him a little bit of texture, and texture is the way that something feels if we were to touch it. So just by adding little lines like this, we know that this would feel bumpy if we were to touch it. If I add the letter C and I do a few more letter C's like that, it starts to look like scales, so we know it would feel scaly. I can also make a backwards 3 and then it's 2 scales. Oh, you know what I forgot to add? I forgot to add his gills, so I'm going to add them right there. Now, if you like your little fish like this, you can leave them just like this, but I want to make mine look a little more scary. So I'm going to give him some barracuda looking teeth. I'm going to give him some really big, reminds me of in Finding Nemo when they go really deep down in the water and they find that lanternfish and they almost get swallowed up. Okay, so now I have my fish done. I'm going to start to do some overlapping. So the first thing I'm going to add is the bottom of the ocean floor. Okay, so just a wiggly line. And I'm going to start to make some seaweed. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to wiggle up with my pencil, and when I hit the the tail, I'm going to jump over it. When I hit the tail, I'm going to jump over it. So this is a jumping line because I'm overlapping. When I hit the tail, I jump over, hit the tail, jump over, hit the tail, jump over. This is how artists make their drawings look more real. We overlapped objects because in real life, objects overlap all the time. Okay, so now I have my first 2 overlapping objects. Next, I'm going to add some bubbles for my fish. Now, we drew bubbles in the turtle too. You guys did a great job there. I'm going to make a bubble look that's going behind the fish. Can you see that? Behind his tooth. So I only draw part of the bubble. Okay, the rest of it is hidden behind this fish. I'm going to draw some more stuff that's kind of growing. Maybe some coral. And this is not tall enough to come up the other side. It just goes behind our fish and stays there. I'm going to make another little patch of seaweed right over here. I'm going to let it fall right off the paper, and maybe we have another little fish that is hiding back here. So I drew the front of my fish. The back is going to go behind. See, I'm jumping the line. And this little guy, I think this little guy is going to look very scared. So I'm going to give him just a dot for his eye. He's further away, so he doesn't need as much detail. I'll give him a little frown because he looks a little bit scared. Maybe up here I will do some jellyfish. So watch how that happens. I'm going to make an oval, which remember is just a squished circle. I'm going to touch one side, come up and around, and then I'm going to wiggle down with some lines that again are going to go behind some things. Watch this. We can even make one of the jellyfish tentacles overlap the back of the jellyfish. Then it's looking really 3D. There are a lot of other things you can add. You can add shells. You can add pebbles. It's up to you, whatever you want to add. Maybe you want to add a scuba diver or a shark. What else can you add so that you can show me what a great overlapping artist you are? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to start color. I can't wait to see what colors you pick. Okay, kindergarten, so here is my finished underwater drawing with overlapping objects. Remember that we want to try to make it look like one object is going behind the other, like how my seaweed is going behind my fish. I'm not sure if you noticed, but at the very end, I just kind of took my blue crayon and I went all over everything. You don't have to try to color around all of your objects at the end. If you press lightly with your crayon, you can get a blue for the water, and it'll look very realistic if some of your objects get a little bit blue because they are underwater. I can't wait to see your overlapping object drawings, and I will see you next week.